let's dive in. Today, we're talking about the instruction manual for pretty much everything alive. Yep, we're getting into DNA and RNA, those incredible molecules that hold the code that literally makes you, well, you. I mean, it's a wild question when you really think about it, right? How can one simple little molecule be the blueprint for everything, from a tiny bacterium to a massive blue whale? How does that even work? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Okay, so first things first, if we want to understand the code, we have to start with the language it's written in, and that language, the absolute foundation for all life, is built from something called nucleic acids. So a nucleic acid is basically a really, really long chain molecule. The technical term is polynucleotide. Just picture a super long, detailed chain. But here's the cool part. It's not just a chain. It's a full-on instruction manual that can store information, act on it, and even pass that info down to the next generation. It's amazing. So you're probably thinking, a molecule that complex must be made of some really complicated stuff, right? Well, and this is what gets me. It's actually built from just 3 super simple parts. That's it. Let's meet these little building blocks. Okay, so check it out. You've got 3 basic components. First up is the nitrogenous base. This is the letter of the code. A, G, C, T, U. That's where the actual information is. Then you've got a sugar, which is kind of like the backbone that the letter holds on to. And finally, there's the phosphate group. This little guy is the connector, the glue that links all these units together into that long chain we were talking about. So here's how they all come together. Step 1, a base connects with a sugar. That combo is called a nucleoside. Step 2, a phosphate group jumps on, and now you've got a nucleotide. And for the final step, you just link a whole bunch of these nucleotides together and, boom, you've got a polynucleotide. It's just a beautiful example of how simple little pieces can build something incredibly complex. All right, now it's important to know there isn't just one type of nucleic acid. There are 2 main players here, DNA and RNA, and they work together like a team. The easiest way to think about it is this. DNA is the master blueprint, the original design that's kept super safe. And RNA? That's the working copy you take out to the job site to actually build stuff. And this is where the design is just brilliant. You see, DNA has that famous double helix shape, which makes it super stable and durable. Perfect for what it does, right? It's storing the precious master blueprint in the cell's nucleus for the long haul. But RNA is just a single strand. It's way less stable, which is actually a good thing. It's meant to be a temporary, disposable message that goes out into the cell, delivers its instructions for building a protein, and then gets broken down. It's a perfect case of form following function. And here's the golden rule that makes the whole system work. Inside that double helix, the bases have to pair up in a very specific way. A always, always pairs with T, and G always pairs with C. That's it. It's like a chemical lock and key. This perfect, predictable pairing is the secret sauce that allows DNA to be copied over and over again with almost perfect accuracy. It's absolutely crucial. Okay, great. So we've got this amazing, stable blueprint stored safely away. But so what? A blueprint sitting in a library doesn't build anything. So the big question is, how does the cell actually read this blueprint and turn that static code into the real working machinery of life, proteins? Well, it all comes down to a process so fundamental to life, it's called the central dogma of biology. It's basically a 3-step information pipeline. First, you have replication, where DNA makes a copy of itself. Next comes transcription. This is where a segment of the DNA code gets copied into a messenger RNA molecule. And last, you have translation, where that RNA message is read like a recipe to build a protein. DNA to RNA to protein. That's the flow. But it's not just one type of RNA doing all the work. It's more like a whole construction crew. You've got mRNA, the messenger, who's like the foreman carrying the blueprints out of the main office. Then there's tRNA, the transfer RNA. It's the truck driver who reads the blueprint and goes to fetch the exact right building materials. In this case, amino acids. And finally, you have rRNA, or ribosomal RNA. That's the factory itself, the physical site where the whole protein gets assembled. So how does the truck driver, the tRNA, know which amino acid to grab? Simple. It reads the mRNA blueprint in 3-letter words. These words are called codons. Each little 3-letter sequence, like UUU or AUG, is a specific command for one and only one amino acid. This is literally the language of life. It translates the 4-letter alphabet of DNA into the 20 amino acid language that builds every protein in your body. This whole system is it's incredibly elegant. It's almost perfect. But at the end of the day, it's a series of chemical reactions. And like any complex process, sometimes things go wrong. So now, let's pivot and look at what happens when the system breaks down, and how that tiny molecular problem can have a huge impact on our health. Okay, so think about it. After these nucleic acids are used, they can't just hang around forever. They need to be broken down and recycled. But what if that cleanup crew doesn't do its job? What happens when all those old, used building materials just start piling up? Well, that's exactly what can lead to a really painful condition called gout. So remember those letters of the code we talked about? 2 of them, A and G, adenine and guanine, are part of a group called purines. When your body breaks them down, the final waste product is something called uric acid. Normally, you just get rid of it. But if you can't, it builds up, forms these sharp little crystals, and they get stuck in your joints. And trust me, it's incredibly painful. And this is just a perfect illustration of the whole point, isn't it? A problem at the tiniest, most microscopic level, a simple glitch in how we metabolize nucleic acids can cause a massive, macroscopic, and very painful condition. It really shows you how connected it all is, bringing the whole story from the molecule right up to the person. So, there you have it. We've seen how this incredible code is put together, how it's read, and even what happens when the system has a hiccup. This code literally writes the story of life itself, which leaves us with a huge and kind of mind-bending question for the future. Our genetic code writes our story, but what happens when we learn to rewrite the code itself?